Hey everyone, got a chit chat and hobby video for you this week. Wanted to talk about all the cool stuff that I saw out of Adepticon, a fun Easter Old World scenario that I plan on running with a couple of my friends this weekend, and some hobby related stuff I've been working away at over the past couple of days. So I'll put some timestamps up right now for everyone, so you can skip around if you only find part of the subject matter here interesting. That's no problem at all. So I want to talk about all of the new things coming to Warhammer the Old World. I know one of the first videos I did months ago, before the game even came out, was just everything you've heard about Warhammer the Old World so far video, and that seemed really well received, so I don't know, I figured why not do it again now, and hopefully the information will be valuable for some of you. I am going to go actually a little bit further back than Adepticon, because we did get some Orcs and Goblin reveals before that actually happened. So let's check out some of that. I believe the pre-orders are still going to be up till this weekend for all the models I'm going to be talking about here. And also, just important to know, because I am one of these people, some of the things I'm going to be discussing are not going to be up for pre-order yet. I imagine they will be very soon, but yeah, if you go to the page after hearing some of the stuff I'm talking about in this video and you don't see it, that is the reason why. It'll soon be up for pre-order. Kind of similar to what they've been doing with the Bretonnians and Tomb Kings. They're doing it in waves, it seems like. So I'm going to have all of the current new releases up on the screen here, and they will be on US prices, just so everyone knows. And yes, you will be seeing, I'm sure with a couple of them, that they're already out of stock, even though it's just pre-order. So hopefully Games Workshop will get some of those back in rotation soon enough. I know the core rulebook for this game is still unavailable on the webpage, at least for the US. So I think they've got a really good lineup for starting an Orcs and Goblin army coming out here. There are a couple of things that I'll go over later I'm a little surprised not to see here, but I think you've got all the core units that you would expect to see. You've got your Orc boys, tons of chariots, lots of war machines, characters, cheap little goblin characters, powerful Orc characters, and giants and trolls, and all the little goodies that you expect, like I said, with Orcs and Goblins. It's the nicher kind of things that I am a little surprised not to see, but again, I'll wait till later to discuss that. There are also some things that I was just really surprised to see return, like the Bone Grinder Giant. I was really surprised to see that. That kind of feels like a niche purchase kind of thing, but I don't know, maybe we'll be seeing a ton of those on the board. The Troll Hag, I believe is what it's called here. Yep, there it is up on the screen. The Troll Hag was another one I was surprised to see come back, and they also suggested that there's going to be a Trolls-themed army that you can run in the Arcane Journal, and she seems to be like kind of your forefront general that's going to be leading this army, and will also be something of a spellcaster. One of my buddies who plays Orcs and Goblins was asking me right away, like, do you think she's going to be a level 2, level 4? And I was kind of curious about that. I haven't seen anything leaking that, but I've seen a couple of hints and reveals at some of the spells and way that the army is going to work. I'll try to put some of those up in the video here as well. But yeah, some surprising reveals for sure, and then some staple reveals. Also thought it was very cool to get this new Black Orc Big Boss. I like that model a lot. And, you know, some of these things have just not been around in rotation for so long that they almost feel kind of new to me. Like the Orc Biggins command unit and just the normal Orc Biggins, those were before my time, so it's really cool to see those models. I actually really like the way they look. Shame they're so expensive. But yeah, that really cool to see that. The Marauder Giant was another thing that was before my time, and that's not currently up for sale, but it will be soon enough. Going into what I'm really excited about for Orcs and Goblins here is the return of these stone trolls. These are my favorite looking trolls in all of Warhammer. I think they have so much style, and they are just leaps and bounds ahead of all the other Trolls Games Workshops ever revealed, and that's including the new Age of Sigmar ones as well. I love these guys. They're super iconic, and if I have enough funds, I will try to grab a couple of these, and hopefully they're not extortionately priced like some of these other models are on here. Some of it's pretty fairly priced. And then some of them I just am like, my jaw almost drops looking at it. Some of the stuff I think is very fairly priced is some of the goblin bosses options. Like there's 3 goblin bosses for I think it's like 30, 35 bucks. There's an orc shaman that's only 15 bucks. And to be honest, like I'm not overwhelmed with the battalion box. I really wish it came with some kind of character in it. Just because, like, it's a pretty good starting force, but, like, someone's gonna need a character. Now, I will say you could easily build your own kind of boss-looking orc guy out of all the bits there, or goblin if you prefer that, but I don't know. I just kind of wish it had that. Overall, I don't think the value's too crazy on it, but I think it's okay. Yeah, I just really think, like, the goblin shamans, some of the hero goblins, the orc shaman, some of those are, like, pretty fairly priced, but if I'm being honest, a couple of these things, I am just like, my jaw's dropping. Like, $50 for, like, I guess 4 snotling mobs isn't, like, too bad, but, like, it's so cheap point-wise. Like, if you actually want that in your army, like, you're gonna need to spend, like, $100 just on snotlings, and I don't know, I just don't think the value is there for that, if I'm being honest. Like, the Bone Grinder Giant, I'm really glad to see it, but it is just so stupidly expensive that, like, I don't think I could ever justify that purchase for me personally. If you can, I'm very jealous. I wish I could have something that cool. Like, Orc War Boss on Wyvern, I don't know, I don't think it's too bad, but I do kind of wish it was, like, at least $10, $15 cheaper, maybe a bit closer to that $60 price range, but I know Games Workshop prices have gone up since I was a young lad, and I probably need to accept that at some point, so it is what it is. But yeah, overall, I'm not like too grossed out by some of the stuff. Most of it does seem like what I would expect, plus like $5 or $10 for the most part. So, you know, it is what it is. There is a lot of stuff that is out of stock, as I said. I will try to show some of that in the images here. I mean, like the... God forbid you want to pre-order the rulebook for Orcs and Goblins. That's going to be out of stock probably for a bit of time. Luckily, they do have the spell cards still up for sale. If I had the funds, I would definitely grab that right now. I love having those things, and I've seen all the hobby groups talking about how extortionate the like third-party buyout market is for these things, and they've been getting resold on eBay already for like $60, $70, like twice their base cost. So I'm glad to see they're still in stock. Maybe Games Workshop will have enough to kind of undercut all of those scalpers. That would be some just desserts for them, I suppose. Like, just to give an example, and again, I know this is like supposed to be a niche, like off-brand hobby game for Games Workshop or whatever the hell that means, but like, God forbid you wanted to run this new troll army. You have to spend almost $100 on like this new troll leader for the army, and I don't think they have any other characters unless like you can just promote your base troll to like hero level. There's no Throg that's already available for Orcs and Goblins. So it's like, you know, the trolls are already expensive. Like, you're looking at having to spend, I don't even know how many hundreds of dollars just to get this army running. And again, I understand too, this Troll Hag used to be like a Forge World exclusive miniature, and that kind of ups the base price of it already. But again, I think it's a little bit less accessible than I would like it to be to people that are approaching this game from a newer perspective and might be interested in trying trolls or something, you know what I mean? I get it that that's not majority of the audience here. Most of it's people like me that have been playing this game for years and probably already have a troll army and really only need that one miniature to make the whole force work. So like, from that perspective, it's a lot more reasonable, and I understand that, but I just think that there's a better middle ground that could be reached with some of these prices, but I think I'm probably just barking at the wind right now, expecting Games Workshop to change their ways. I know most of the mainline games like 40K or Age of Sigmar, like, it's the same exact situation for the pricing, so it is what it is, I suppose. To go into some of the stuff I am surprised not to see with this initial wave of Orcs and Goblins, I note this is another thing that was announced but is not part of the initial pre-order here, is Black Orcs. They've got all these characters themed around Black Orcs, but you can't actually take a unit of them yet. I guess it's not too big a deal because I think they're called like Iron Jaws or something, the Age of Sigmar models. They do look very different, and I don't think they will base quite as nicely as your traditional Black Orcs, but you could buy some of those and use those in the meantime, I suppose. Or, you know, you probably already have the models, if we're being honest, so it's not really the end of the world. But I was a little surprised not to see that with all the characters themed around that unit. I felt like they would be there to accompany them. But I'm sure it's a release that'll be coming soon down the road here. They already did reveal images of them. But what they didn't reveal images of, at least unless I missed it, is Night Goblins and Savage Orcs, which I was really surprised by. Those have always been very popular unit choices for Orcs and Goblins. If I had to guess, this is some kind of cost-saving production method from Games Workshop, because most of this range is still available through Age of Sigmar, and it's pretty much like the same models. Some of the prices have gone up, of course, a little bit. But yeah, I think this is just like, hey, the rules are all still here, you just gotta buy it through the Age of Sigmar boxes. And if that's the case, you know, that's fine. I was kind of curious if they were kind of trying to put less of an emphasis on those units, maybe because of that, or I don't know. We'll have to see what's in the rulebook. The last thing I want to say is I was so excited to see these monopose Orc boys and Arrow boys. The first ever starter set I got from Warhammer Fantasy had those models in it. It also had Empire in it. I'll put a little picture up of the box here in my post-edit. But yeah, I still have some of them hanging around in my bits boxes to this day, and was getting a big sense of nostalgia, and it put a huge smile on my face when I saw these guys again. I couldn't believe that they were bringing them back. And it got my brain thinking like, oh, maybe they're going to release these as like a more affordable core unit option for Orcs and Goblin players. And if that's the case, I actually really, really like that. Having like some kind of cheaper alternative model like that. Buy like one of the normal Orc Boy boxes and then get one of these like kind of monopose sets and mix and match them, and you'll get like twice the value that you normally would. It could be a really cool idea, and I hope Games Workshop's going to do it that way, and they're not going to just price these guys the same as the other one, and basically just bait on people's nostalgia to buy these ones instead of the standard box. And just kind of my very, very last thing, I want to mention it here before I move on to the dwarves, but there was a leak a while ago that someone did, and I don't know if it was necessarily a leak or just what they had envisioned for Games Workshop's release pattern for the Old World. But I do remember the first thing was they said Orcs and Goblins versus Dwarves, and that very much does seem to be the case. So we'll have to see if the release schedule continues to follow that course or not. I am rather curious if it does. So these were all actual Adepticon reveals here. All of the new dwarf miniatures and all the old stuff that we're going to be getting back in rotation again. I don't know necessarily when the exact release date is going to be for these. I've done a little bit of searching around, and I'll put up my theories of when I think they're going to be up on the screen here. But we do have the image reveals, and I will be showing these off now. If you're curious about me as a dwarf player, I'm not too much of a dwarf player, but I do have a small collection, and I am extremely excited to see these Slayers come back in rotation. I don't mean to push anyone's buttons or anything, because I know this is a very divisive subject, but I have never been a fan of like the new Fire Slayer guys that they have for Age of Sigmar. I do not like that style at all. I don't like the way the new dwarves look. This is my favorite style of dwarves right here. I'm actually a little disappointed they didn't bring back the old school long beards and they revealed the plastic kit instead. I'm fingers crossed that they're going to bring that one back as well. But yeah, these are my favorite Slayers of all time. When I was younger, I didn't really play dwarves as much, and buying Doomseekers wasn't really at my priority. And now, you know, for like the past 5 or 10 years, they have just been so extortionately priced online. And same with Malachi's little Doom machine here. And it'll be so cool to be able to get that for like under $200. I think it goes for even more sometimes if you got all the bits. So yeah, there's some things like that that I am very excited to get my hands on again as a semi-dwarf collector. But yeah, we'll go over all of the other stuff that I am also still excited to see. So with the Dwarf Battalion box, it's kind of the same thing I was saying with the Orcs and Goblin one. I really wish it included a character. I will say with the bits available, you can probably get away with doing something like that. But something a little bit interesting, I don't know if anyone's been talking about it, is I noticed that they had their units in 4x4 formation. I don't know if that was just a sense of nostalgia from the picture, but I thought you needed to be in a rank of 5 in order to actually get the rank benefit. Maybe they're trying to just do like some kind of like marching formation thing for the picture. Not really sure, but I thought that was a little bit interesting. Maybe there's going to be like a new special rule for dwarves and like this battalion, or the arcane journal is what I mean to say, that allows them to be in tighter formations than other armies. Kind of makes sense for dwarves. Could definitely see it being a thing. But yeah, I do like this battalion box a little bit more, despite the lack of characters in it. I think that the bomber and then the like big version of the bomber is just a little bit better than the chariots. I don't know, I played against Orcs and Goblins very limited amount, and I haven't even played against Dwarves. I've only been on the side of Dwarves or seen them playing at the table across from me. But those bombers seem to be a very solid unit choice for Dwarves right now. So I like that for just the sense of value, and I think that the range units that it includes are just going to be getting a little bit better value than the Orcs and Goblins. And that's just my opinion. I think it's got a few more points probably there as well, just because of the natural expense that dwarves kind of have tied to them per unit. So yeah, I think you'll get a little bit more army out of it. It might be a little bit more expensive because of that. I'm not really sure. We'll have to see. We also got some new models revealed for dwarves. I like the Lord that's being carried by the Shield Bearer quite a bit. I think that model looks great, as well as the on foot character. I also really like the new engineer or dwarf lord guy with a gun. I think that model looks awesome. I'm not as big a fan of the new Slayer character that they showed. It lost a lot of the cartoony charm, I think, of the older style. But it's still a really badass looking model, and if I had it, I'd be happy to have it. But yeah, I think it's kind of lost that sense of style that the older ones had personally. The only thing I was a little surprised not to see with this Dwarf reveal was no, like, cannons or war machines for the most part. Now, I do recall in some of the preview images way back when for this game, even in the core rulebook when, like, you go to the Dwarves section and such, like, I've seen images of their war machines already. I imagine it's just not the flashiest thing to be revealing and get people all hyped up to be playing dwarves again, and that's why we haven't seen it yet. But if you were a newcomer to the army and, like, this is what you got, I would say I would be a little concerned by that factor. It's kind of one of those big staples of a dwarf army, is having lots of grudge throwers, bolt throwers, organ guns, cannons, like, you know what I mean. But again, I'm sure most people already have that, and they're trying to get people excited about new things to buy. And fair enough to that. Also, it seems like most of that stuff got released for Orcs and Goblins already, so I think it would be extra weird to be giving the Orcs and Goblins, like, all their war machines and not the Dwarves. So I have a very strong feeling whenever the Dwarves go up for pre-order, that stuff's going to be there as well. I just hope it's part of the initial wave and not later on down the line for all the newcomers to the Dwarves. That will be quite a necessary purchase, I have a feeling. And I think that's going to sum up most of the new stuff we've got on the horizon for Warhammer the Old World here. If there's anything I forgot, please feel free to let me know in the comments. But I'm actually going to be moving on to a couple of other things that got revealed at Adepticon that I'm excited about. I know it's not the primary focus of my channel so far to be kind of discussing these things, but you never know, might have some like-minded people watching the video and they're interested in the same games I am, and they're excited about these reveals as well. So I figured I might as well talk about it here. I'm going to be very brief about this one because I didn't really get a chance to look too much into the actual gameplay mechanics of it. I only looked at the screenshots of the game itself and the miniatures. I saw this new Halo tabletop game that they're revealing, and yeah, I gotta say, again, I don't know how the game works, but I saw all these miniatures and I was like, ooh, these look really, really cool. Perhaps some 40k players out there might be excited about these as well, just using them as proxies or something. I don't know, I mean, having an all-Spartan kill team going up against some Tyranids seems pretty cool to me. Yeah, or like having some Covenant proxies for Eldar, maybe. Like, yeah, instead of Screaming Banshees, you got some, like, Covenant elites with, like, their energy swords. But maybe the game itself is cool, too. I've mentioned this quite a few times. Star Wars Legion is one of my favorite tabletop games, and it's like a, you know, futuristic skirmish game, and this kind of seems to be hitting the same thing. It seems to be a little bit smaller scale from the photos that I saw here. I'm going to put some images up right now, but yeah, I don't know. Just looked like a really cool game, and I'm going to be keeping my eye out for like a battle report or something once it actually is released to the public, and see if I'm interested in the game. And since I already mentioned it very briefly in the Halo section, I will move on to Star Wars Legion reveals at Adepticon. I think we got a lot of cool stuff on the horizon for this game that has got my Jedi senses tingling. And by that I mean this ARF squad. You've got a generic kind of Jedi template that you can attach to your clone trooper squad now. And this is kind of further on down the line in terms of releases, but I am so excited to see that. The idea of being able to either build or customize, make your own Jedi, and like have it in the army. I think Legion has been needing stuff like this for so long. As primarily a Warhammer player, that's the type of stuff I live for. I've never really been a big fan of using like the Warhammer named characters. Every now and then I think it's fun, but a lot of the charm of Warhammer is making your own characters, and Star Wars Legion has been missing that aspect for so long. The generic commanders that they have available, like, barely even hit that, like, level of serviceable for armies. I'm hoping that these Jedi can do that, and I'm hoping that they have that level of customization to them, that, like, you can kind of put your own little personality and build your own kind of little Jedi with the army. So, really excited about that one, but I probably should do this in chronological order and not just skip ahead to what I'm most excited about. So, yeah, we'll do that instead, and I'll just consider that one a bit of jumping the gun. So, first things we actually got coming out, I'll put the timeline up so everyone can kind of follow what I'm talking about, but we got the Range Troopers on the way. Those are from the Solo Star Wars movie, and the Republic Commandos. Range Troopers, from their reveal, seem pretty solid. I mean, I think any unit that is, like, centered around, like, being a range 4 threat is pretty scary. And this unit, you know, they do want to get a little bit closer, but they definitely seem like they can be a pretty long-range threat, as the name would imply in their title. The Republic Commandos, I am very excited about. I don't have the hugest Republic force, but I just think this is kind of like the centerpiece thing I've been looking for the army. For a while, it's just kind of been me running with the starter box and like a couple of odds and ends that I've added, but this is going to be the thing that really gets me running Republic a lot more. I always loved Delta Squad. I plan on having an actual Delta Squad in my army, and if I have the funds, or if I plan on 3D printing them or something, I'll have an additional normal generic commando squad as well. So really excited about that reveal. They didn't really show off any of the like modular nature to the weapons that they have, at least in the games, so I'm hoping that that is soon to be revealed, because they seem really close range just from their unit card here. But, I mean, they showed the sniper already, or like the modular sniper formation that you can do for their weapons. They showed that in some of the preview images here, so I'm going to assume that they have some longer range capabilities, and maybe you'll be able to make like the grenade launcher as well. That'll be pretty cool. Bad Batch is also on the way. Seems a little complicated, to say the least, the way that you're running them. You gotta like take each one of them as like a character attachment to the squad. I'm definitely not like an advanced Star Wars Legion player by any means. I have been playing the game since launch, but I know there are other channels that do a much better job talking about tactics and such, so I'll refer to them if you really want to know like the keys to running this unit. But they do seem pretty cool, capture a lot of the on-screen kind of character that they have in their unit portrayal here. Yeah, kind of excited about it. I think I'm definitely going to be getting a box of them at some point. I liked, like, the first season of the show, but it's kind of felt like it's gone on a little bit too long, in my opinion, so... But that's probably a conversation for another video. Anyways, the Rebel Sleeper Cell unit. I know this is themed off the Cassian Andor show, but I just kind of look at this as, like, your generic, new, like, kind of generic Rebel freedom fighter guy, and I really like that. I just like the loadout that this unit has, the diversity of them. I think it's going to be a great thing to have in the game. I plan on running a lot of these guys, and maybe replacing a lot of my Rebel Troopers with these guys. I don't think they're going to be better in terms of quality. I kind of picture them being a closer range, maybe cheaper alternative to your standard Rebel Trooper, but I don't know. I just think they seem like a lot of fun, and I want to kind of get them involved in my armies. Maybe they'll have, like, infiltrate and stuff, so they can already kind of start halfway up on the board or something like that. Who knows? The Imperial Riot Squad also looks really cool. I just think, like, this is something that, yeah, it's kind of from that Jedi Survivor video game, and you could also say a bit of Rogue One, but I don't know, just kind of something I picture for the Empire, this, like, riot control team, and I'm excited to see that coming into the game. I do plan on running this unit as well, just because Stormtroopers are fun, but, like, this just seems like a new kind of way of running them, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of feel like I can mix and match my squads a little bit. Like, I could get away with buying 1 or 2 of these boxes and then running, like, 4 of them if I mix some generic Stormtrooper squads in there with them. So, I think that'll be a cool new way to play the Empire, and the same thing goes with the Sleeper Cell, and that's why I am excited about those reveals. I don't play much CIS. I have a little bit of a Force because I did buy the starter box, but the Crab Droid seems cool. I'm sure if you're a CIS player, you're just glad to get more things involved in your army. I know it's kind of the weaker of the 4 options, so I am glad that they're getting this, and I know they just recently kind of got all the Geonosian bugs, so I'm not too surprised to not see, like, any new core units for them in this initial reveal launch here, but they will be getting some new stuff along the way very soon. Moving on to 2025, we got some cool terrain pack coming out. I might get it. I mean, I like the official terrain stuff when it's affordable, and that's kind of the big thing here. This pack's like 20 or 30 bucks, and it's like cheaper than buying a 3D print from someone. Like, sure, why not? And if it comes with like some rules or like additional ways to play the game, all the better, and I probably will be a little bit more incentivized to get it, but otherwise, might be a skip and a pass for me. But, you know, I know there are a lot of people that don't have access to 3D printing, or they're just not as interested in that. They like to get all the official stuff, and I think for those people, this is something they've been waiting for a while, like some official FFG terrain stuff like this. Not to say we haven't gotten it in the past, but most of it's kind of just been objective-centric terrain stuff, so I think that's cool. The Aqua Droids are the new CIS kind of thing I saw coming, but this is further down the line, obviously, in 2025. Definitely cool. Seen them quite a bit in the Clone Wars TV show back in the day when I was a young lad. So cool to see them coming into the actual game here. I don't know how good they'll actually be. I kind of picture them being maybe a little bit longer range than your standard B2 battle droids, because the barrel of their guns is like a little bit longer. So maybe they shoot less dice, but they have range 3 capabilities, and maybe they've got like an infiltrate ability because like they swim up on the board from one of the other table sides. I don't know. We'll have to see how it works. Then we got the already mentioned ARF trooper unit coming into the game. I don't know how the actual unit itself is going to work. I kind of picture them being a middle ground between like the Empire Scout Trooper and your typical Phase 1 or Phase 2 clone trooper. And then, yeah, the fact that you can attach like a Jedi to them seems like really the big draw feature for the most part. And yeah, I already know I talked about that, and I don't want to, you know, build up my expectations too high here, because I could easily see them just being an attached thing, and they just have like a tiny little unit card thing that just adds a couple of dice, maybe a keyword to your unit. But you never know. It could be something that's a little bit more customizable, and I would love to see that. I would love to see that just be introduced to all the armies. Like, hey, you want to take like a very customizable like Sith leader for your Empire or your CIS? Like, I know it might be breaking the canon to some extent, but like, I don't know, make it an Inquisitor or something like that. Or, you know, just like a maybe a little bit stronger Imperial officer option for your Empire guys, or the counterpart for the Rebels. Like, I can take a better Rebel cell leader guy that can actually, like, take a cool weapon and have some better keywords attached to him. But, you know, he's going to be a lot more expensive. And maybe I can make him, like, a hybrid smuggler type character. You get what I'm saying. I would love to see stuff like that introduced to the game. But might be having my expectations kind of fall set for that one. And if they don't end up doing it, you know what, whatever. Star Wars Legion is still a great game, and you can easily just proxy a named character for whoever the hell you want. It's fine. The last couple of things here, I won't go too far into, but we've got a lot of resculpt releases of old Legion models that definitely have been showing their age a little bit as I go through my cases and look at my first couple of paint jobs for the game. Yeah, the paint jobs weren't my best in the world, but yeah, the minis are definitely showing their age a little bit, and they haven't aged as gracefully as some of the Warhammer ones I was talking about earlier in the video. Not to say they didn't have good sculpts back then, though. They still had some great-looking minis, even when the game first came out. But yeah, I am excited to see these. I'm hoping that when they re-release these units, they come with like new options as to like how you're gonna take them, or they at least come with like updated unit cards. These are things I would really like to see, and not just like the same thing but new models. We'll have to see if Atomic Mass ends up taking that opportunity or not. That just about sums up all of the cool reveals that I saw at Adepticon this year. If I'm smart enough, I will try and get a ticket maybe for next year. I've always wanted to go to Adepticon, and I know it just becomes a harder and harder feat to accomplish with every passing year as these games get more and more popular, but who knows, maybe next year I'll be able to make a little video of my trip out to Adepticon and all the cool stuff that I see in person. If you've ever gotten a chance to go to Adepticon, or you have some reveals that I didn't talk about in the video here that you're really, really excited about and you just want to let the world know, let me know in the comments. Or if you are really, really excited about something I talked about in the video here and you got a new Orc and Goblin army that you just can't wait to plan out the list for and watch obliterate your dwarven rival across the field, let me know about that as well. Like I said, Slayers are definitely something I'm super excited to get again. Some of the Orc and Goblin characters I think look so cool, like that wizard, and he's only like 15 bucks. I think that guy is such a classic looking model. Can't wait to get my hands on that one eventually. Same with the Stone Trolls. And yeah, Star Wars Legion's got a ton of cool reveals. Maybe you're planning on playing that Halo Flashpoint game and you've actually already gotten a chance to play like a demo game at Adepticon, or you watched one of their gameplay reveal videos. I haven't even gotten a chance to do that yet. Like, let me know what you're thinking about and what your tabletop hobbies are going to be looking like in the near future based on these Adepticon reveals. So some of my recent hobby stuff I've been working on is I've been making a bunch of ogres for Warhammer the Old World, but they're not your typical ogres. These are samurai ogres. And I'm actually going to do like a whole hobby video on how I assembled these and how I'm going to be painting them and all that stuff. So I'll kind of save most of that for another video, but I've been working on that kind of in the sidelines. I got about 6 or 7 of them done at the moment. They're going to be an Iron Gut unit because they've all got great weapons, but they do have a pretty diverse weapon loadout. They've got a couple of other goodies holstered on their sides and on their back, so maybe they could be a Man-Eater unit. We'll have to see. I'll discuss that in the hobby video soon to come for them. The other thing that I've been working on is 3D printing, like, as close as I can one-for-ones of my old World of Warcraft characters. I don't really play anymore, but I used to be like a huge fan of the game, and all my buddies used to play online, and we'd have like a guild together, and I won't bore you with all the details of that, but yeah, I've been trying to bring my character from the video game into the real world here, and that's actually what I've been working on in the little hobby thing I've been having play on my video so far here. That's me painting away on my character, and yeah, it's been a very interesting process. I've never been a huge 3D modeler. I did take like one semester in college on the subject, but yeah, this is definitely some unfamiliar territory for me, and it's been quite the learning process. And then when I have the actual print in front of me, I kind of realize, okay, like, the World of Warcraft stuff isn't as detailed as you think it is. It's really doing a lot of, like, lighting and texture stuff to kind of trick you into thinking there's more detail than there actually is. So when you look at the actual models and you try to make it like a one-for-one of it, you're like, this is very, very basic. And it really becomes a game of, alright, like, how much can I trick the eye into thinking that there are textures here, even though this is actually flat, or this is just, like, slightly rounded, and, you know, there might, but in actuality, when you look at the model, like, there seems to be, like, a piece of, like, reinforced plate in this area, but when you, again, when you look at the actual thing, it's all flat. So it's a very interesting thing to kind of tackle, and I think I have a lot more to learn on it, but I'm very excited to be printing my old characters and be bringing them into the real world here. I think that is like a childhood dream come true, if I'm being honest. And unfortunately, I don't have any shots of the completed miniature yet. I think I've got like a good week of painting ahead of me before this guy's actually going to be done. But again, I just thought it'd be interesting to kind of see the process, and maybe a little bit therapeutic to have me painting away in the corner down there and letting you know, anyone can do this stuff. You just gotta kind of put your mind to it and be willing to commit the time that's needed to accomplish your goals. And you'll get the results if you're willing to do that. I've always found that to be the case. Sometimes it might just be a little bit longer than you expected initially, but if you always persist towards your goals, you can accomplish whatever it is. Be willing to learn, be persistent, never give up. You'll be amazed what you can accomplish. That's enough inspirational ramblings out of me. I'm going to move on to the final thing I wanted to talk about in this video, and that is my little Warhammer the Old World Easter scenario that I have crafted for you all. And if you end up running this, please let me know how it goes, and if there's anything that you enjoyed about the scenario or you would like to see changed. I am very interested. I've kind of run this with Mordheim mostly in the past, if you happen to know what that game is. But I figured with all the excitement in Warhammer the Old World right now, why not make it themed around that game instead? So if you saw my last battle report, you will know that I'm a fan of kind of adding in these scenarios or objectives, however you want to look at it, to kind of spice up your standard battle line game, or as it's called in Warhammer the Old World, an open battle. So you're going to set up a standard battlefield and roll for deployment. Armies are going to go down. Everything's going to play out like normal. The twist is in the rabid Rabbit Man that will be deployed in the center of the battlefield. He is going to be placing a bunch of little Easter egg tokens all over the battlefield, basically at the start of each of the turns, and you will receive victory points if you pick those eggs up, but you decide not to open them. I'll explain these mechanics soon enough. You will also receive victory points for dealing wounds to the rabid Rabbit Man, or getting the final wound on him will give you like extra bonus points on top of the standard wound points. Again, this will all be kind of described on the screen right now. You can feel free to read along with me, or you can just listen, whatever you see fit. The game length is going to go on for 4 turns, and then you're going to roll a die at the end of turn 4. And on 3+, you'll play another turn, and then on a 4+, you'll play out turn 6. And after turn 6, the game will conclude. You only have so much time to try and hunt the rabid Rabbit Man before he'll hop off the game field and go cause holiday mischief on some other battlefield. So the way this crazy rabbit works is at the start of every single turn, including the very first one, you're going to roll a scatter dice and an artillery dice. and he will hop off to whatever direction that is pointing towards. If you roll direct hit, most scatter dice have a little arrow indicator on the direct hit symbol, and you will use that to indicate what direction he's going. So basically, direct hit doesn't mean he's just going to be sitting there. He's always going to be hopping around to some random direction. I don't know if, like, Games Workshop stopped doing that with scatter dice. If that's the case, I would suggest just re-rolling the direct hit if that happens and there's no clear indicator on it. After he has done this, you are going to place an egg marker next to this crazy rabbit. These are the objective tokens I was mentioning earlier. If you can get a character within 1 inch of these, you have a choice. You can pick it up and hold on to it. And if your character, should be noted, if your character is defeated at any time, you'll drop all the tokens you have available right then and there at that location. Or you can choose to open the Easter egg. If you do so, you're going to roll a d6 and you're going to consult the chart below. Note that there is a 1 out of 6 chance that you opened up a nasty Easter egg, and your character might have an unpleasant surprise waiting for them in the form of one unavoidable wound. You can take a regen or a ward save against it, but no armor saves are permitted. But there are some really powerful items, wonderful gifts waiting for your characters within those Easter eggs, and ones that could easily tip the scale of the battle in your favor should things be looking rather dire. And again, something that's mentioned in the little written section here, but if you do decide to open it and say you get like the Monster Slayer sword, which I think is worth like 50 points, that doesn't mean you just gain 50 victory points. None of the items that you find within the eggs are worth victory points. The eggs themselves are worth the victory points, and you have to keep them unopened and protected on your character until game ends to get those victory points. I think that just about sums up all of the rules involving the actual game and scenario here. I am now going to go over this rabid rabbit man, the terror of Easter and spring. I think most of the stuff here is pretty straightforward. I tried to do as little homebrew keywords as I could, just so anyone could look this stuff up in the main rulebook and be all good to go. But I did have to add in, like, you know, 1 or 2 little homebrew things here to really sell the sense that this is the Easter menace that I want him to be on the battlefield. This bunny has amazing senses and gives him a very unique ability to dodge most ranged projectiles of any kind, be it a cannonball, a magical vortex, missile, whatever you can think of. And yeah, he'll get a 2-up ward save against any of those attacks, so good luck landing a shot on him. He's also got a 4+ normal armor save and a pretty decent toughness as well. And should you get him in melee, he is arguably just as quick, perhaps a little bit more vulnerable, since that 2+ ward save is only going to turn into a 3+. Now, it should be noted that this rabbit only has 3 wounds, so if you can just get a couple of lucky dice through and he rolls rather poorly, it might conclude quicker than you think. But with defenses and speed like that, maybe you're better off just trying to grab as many of the eggs as you can during the battle instead of trying to kill them. It's meant to kind of have a little bit of tactical decision making, and there's also such a big sense of randomness to it that I want him to have these stat lines. You never know, he might just blitz right into the enemy army right at turn 1 at their best possible character. And with a stat line like this, it gives him a really good chance of kind of avoiding that turn 1 game-ending thing occurring. But you never know, it might actually happen, and there's still a reason to play out the game, I think, in that situation. Yes, the opponent just got a big victory points bonus, but, you know, you can still try to play out you still got a whole game ahead of you. You might table the guy for all you know. He's also supposed to be a, you know, kind of, not godly necessarily, but like some kind of mythological being that's been encountered on the battlefield. So I think for those reasons, it's kind of appropriate that he has these fun holiday stat lines, we'll say. The final special little house rule that I do want to go over while I have time in the video here is that he is not going to be subjected to standard combat resolution rules. Instead of doing that, he's just basically going to automatically give ground, and he's going to do so as a cavalry, so he'll probably be hopping away a decent amount of distance. And he will leave an egg token right in front of the unit. And this is something I went over earlier in the video. If you didn't see it during like the deployment and setup section, just rewind a couple of minutes to there. But yeah, your unit has the option after that combat of picking up that egg and either storing it or trying to open it right then and there. And you are entitled to a free reform as well. But you can't pursue them afterwards. Other than that, I think everything's pretty straightforward on his little stat profile here, and I hope I was clear enough in going over how the scenario and everything's supposed to work out. And I know I already mentioned this before I did all this descriptive stuff, but if you do end up running this scenario, please let me know how it goes. I'm going to be running it this weekend, and if I get enough video and photographs of everything, I will be making a battle report on it, and hopefully be getting that done over the course of next week. So keep an eye out for that, and yeah, you all have a happy Easter and holiday weekend. I hope the Easter Bunny doesn't lay any rotten eggs for you. If he does, make sure you have a ward save, and a pretty decent one. Or, you know, you at least have some multiple wounds that you can afford to take. Alright, that's enough. Goodbye, everyone. Have a great weekend. Ta-ta. See you in the next video.